Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh. I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the social media components of BNI Connect, so connecting with other people in BNI throughout the world, how to do things like leave testimonials for them, how to go through your connections and look at your connections, also how to participate in the groups functionality, or I consider them the worldwide one-to-ones that we're having on a daily basis here in BNI, how to participate in those discussions. Today's webinar is scheduled for 30 minutes of content. After that, we will open it up for questions. This is a live webinar, so if you do have questions, please do feel free to raise those questions at any time. The best way to do that is through the questions panel in the GoToWebinar software. I will see those questions pop up on the screen. I'd be happy to answer them as we're going through or at the end. I'm always happy to stay on these calls until all of the questions are answered. Today's webinar is being recorded, both the questions portion of it and the 30 minutes of content. It will be made available on our YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, you will find all of our recorded videos up there. You can review them at any time. In addition, you can find them on our support site, which is support.bniconnect.com. You can also get here by clicking on the question mark in BNI Connect. You'll see a section down towards the bottom that says trainings, and there are the webinars broken out month by month. You can click on this month and see the ones that are already uploaded there so far. So let's talk about social media. And before we get too far into the functionality, just a very quick example that I'd like to share with you. Before we go and start connecting with other people, one thing that you really need to be conscious of is how you look to other people. There is a webinar on building VCP with BNI Connect, and you should probably listen to that one first. It's all about how to fill out your member profile, but let me share an example with you. I was sitting here in my office a couple of months ago, and a client of mine walked in. And they said, hey, I need a referral. I said, awesome. How can I help you? They said, well, I have an in-house bookkeeper, but I really need somebody to, help me a little bit more with QuickBooks and do some advanced things. You know anybody that can help? I said, yeah, I have somebody in my chapter. They're a QuickBooks certified consultant. I would love to refer them to you. What I really wanted to do, though, was to use BNI Connect in order to give this person more information about the referral. So I'm going to our test site right now, but effectively what I did was I went to find a member. I put in the person's name on the website and searched for them. And I brought up their profile. This is what they saw. Basically nothing. It didn't have a whole lot of information shared on their profile. In contrast, if somebody had looked up me on my regional website, they would have found a lot more information. They would have found my phone numbers, my pictures, more about my business, all sorts of things. Keep that in mind as we are getting into connecting with other BNI members worldwide. People are going to see your profile. So they need to be able to connect with your face and your phone numbers and your email addresses. They're going to be looking at your bio and your 60-second presentations. Take some time to fill out that information in your profile. If you're curious where to do all that stuff, once you log into BNI Connect, click up here on the My Account button. The My Account button will bring you to all of the fields that have all of the information that people will be looking at when they view your profile in BNI Connect. It has your main details, your picture and your logo, all of your contact information, and all of your bio information. So please do take some time to fill out all that information. And while we're on the profile, we're going to be talking about connections in just a second and how to find people in BNI Connect. One of the most important things that you can do as part of your profile is on the first page, you'll notice there's a section for keywords. Now, keywords are extremely important because that's how people find you when they don't know your name. So if people are looking to connect with, let's say, all accountants in the United States, they're looking for another accountant, or they're looking for an accountant in Florida, unless you have the word accountant or accounting in your keywords, you are not going to be found. So let's take a look. How do we connect with people in BNI Connect? So there's a couple of ways to do that. If I go back to my home screen, this is the first page that you would see when you log into BNI Connect. Most of the social media components are listed here under My Network. And if I click on My Network, these are all the different social media things. We have connections. We have the social media groups. We have shared documents, and these are documents that are shared from your regional office. We have testimonials. We have regional events such as member success programs, advanced trainings, maybe mixers that are going on in your region. And we have an internal messaging system as well. Now, if I'm looking to connect with other people, the way I would do that is through the Connections panel. If you click the Add button, that will bring you to a place that you can search for more connections. Now, by default, this list here, this is going to show the first 6 people that you're connected to. Keep in mind, you will automatically be connected to all of the people in your chapter, so you don't have to go searching for them. As people join your chapter, they will automatically be part of your connections. As people leave your chapter, they'll automatically be removed from your connections. But let's say that you wanted to connect with somebody from another chapter within your region, or maybe just somebody else from a neighboring state or even from another country. We would click the Add button. Alternatively, you could click on this magnifying glass, Search People, up in the upper right-hand corner. So what we do here is we need to enter some criteria in order to find people. Now, we can search by name or keyword. We can also search right now, one at a time, against countries. So there's a drop-down. You can search across one country at a time. You can narrow this down a little bit further by states, cities, or specific professions. So I'm just going to go ahead and, let's see, Frank Bastone is on the call with us today. So I'm going to do a search, and assuming he's here in the United States, I should be able to find Frank. So now it's searching all across the United States, and it finds him, and I can see here's Frank. He's in the Business Referral Network. His company is Pinnacle Trips, and he does cruises and tours. Now, if I know this is the right person, I can just click this plus sign, and this will send Frank a connection request. Now, I can customize this request if I'd like to. I can add some more words to it to make it more friendly. And if I click Submit, it will send Frank a connection request. Now, if I'm not sure if this is the right Frank or not, what I can do is click on Frank's name, and it will take me to Frank's profile. Here's a little power tip for you. If you have a lot of results here, what you may want to do is right-click on them and choose Open a New Tab, and that way you wouldn't lose your original search results. So here's Frank. I can see that he's in the New York Westchester area. I can see he's in the Business Referral Network, and he's a member there. I can also see more about his business. I can see his keywords. I can see his company logo. I could give him a call if I'd like to, or send him an email. I can go link right over to his social networking groups, and I can also see his business address. Now, there's also more information that we can see as BNI members within BNI Connect. I can also take a look at his bio. I can read his 60-second presentations and his game profile, his TOPS profile. I can also look at Frank's connections, so I can see the people that he's connected to in BNI Connect. I can look at his testimonials if he had some, or if he has shared any pictures, and I can see a couple of pictures that he's shared here. And I can see which groups he's participating in. Now, after looking at him, if this is somebody that I would like to connect with, I could click on the button here as well that says Add Frank to my connections. And again, this will pull up that message. I could say, hey, Frank, thanks for being on the webinar today. Nice profile. And this will send a message to Frank saying, Jeremy Walsh would like to connect with you. But let's say that you don't know somebody's full name. What you would probably want to do here is put in some keywords in order to find them. And that's where filling out your keywords is extremely important. But let's say I'd like to do a search for anybody with the word computer support in their keywords. I could then do a search, and it would give me all of the people in the United States that have computer support in their keywords. And I can see it comes back with, about 76 entries for those specific keywords. And again, I can look through these various profiles to see if they're people that I'd like to connect with. Or if I know it's the right person, I could just click the plus sign in order to send them a connection request. Of course, I could further narrow this down by putting in states. Now, suggestion for you, some people are putting in abbreviations for states, and some people are spelling them out. This is going to go by the state that's listed in their address details on their profile. So you may want to do either multiple searches. For example, if I do a search for computer in RI for Rhode Island, I would find all the people that have RI listed. But if there's anybody out there that has Rhode Island spelled out, I wouldn't have found those people in that first search. Now, states like California, they're going to be pretty lucky because so it'll find both of those people. Just something to be aware of as you're searching for people. So now what do we do once we have connected with people? How do we use that tool? So if I go back to my home screen and the My Network page, you'll notice that there's a button under here for Manage, and this will bring you into the Connections section. Alternatively, I could always click on the Network menu item and go to Connections. Both links will take us to the same place. So this is kind of like your address book for all of your connections, very similar to an Outlook address book. I can see that I have 297 connections, and here's all of my connections listed here in alphabetical order. And I can go through and I can scroll through and take a look at the list here. The right also has the list of the 297 people with a nice handy photo, so I can do some facial recognition on them as well. If I'd like to see some more information about that person, I could click on the person's name, and it will take me to a contact card for them. So it has what they're working on, their address, some of their contact details. If I'd like to go and view their full profile, I could always click on the View Profile button, and that'll take me where I can see their connections, I could see their testimonials, and all the other information on their account. You can see there's also some other options here on their profile. I can send them a message. This would bring us to the internal messaging system. I could ask them for a testimonial. I could give them a testimonial. I could view their profile again, or I can remove them from my connections. One thing to keep in mind is, again, for all of your members that are within your chapter, those are manual, those are connections that are automatically handled by the system. So that delete from my connections wouldn't be available. For example, Abby Volino is a member of my chapter. Notice how I don't have a delete Abby from my connections under her profile list here. Now, once people have started sending you connection requests, you'll see those connection requests down here in the Received Requests folder. Now, I've already accepted all of my connection requests, so I don't have any in here, but when people start sending you requests, you'll have an option to either accept them, ignore them, or reject them. Once you have accepted them, they will move up into your All Connections, and you'll see that number tick up by 1. So let's talk about testimonials for a minute. So going back to, I'm going to take a look at my profile here by clicking on the Profile button at the bottom. you'll see that there's a thumbs up icon. So if you were looking at my profile, you could look at my testimonials. Now, testimonials are a great way to boost credibility for yourself as well as for other members of your chapter or other connections that you have around the world. The way to give a testimonial to somebody is, again, through the Connections panel. So let's say that there's somebody in my network here that I would like to give a testimonial to. I could do that by clicking on their name. I could go into their profile. And I could click on Give a Testimonial. I would just write out the testimonial that I'd like to give, and then I would submit that testimonial. Now, once people give you testimonials, you can see those through the Testimonials panel. Now, if you're in Connections, you'll see that there's a button here that says Testimonials, and that'll bring us over to the Testimonials section. Alternatively, if you were going straight there from the home screen, you'll notice that under Testimonials, there's a Manage button. And there's a third way to get there by clicking on Network Testimonials. And this is where you can review all of your testimonials. So I could click on somebody's testimonial. I could read it, make sure it's an appropriate testimonial. If I'd like to hide this testimonial from my profile, I could do that by unchecking the box. Or if I would like to, I could also remove the testimonial. From here, you can also review the testimonials that you've given other people. So if I click on the Testimonials Given button, I could go in and can look at Brian Fish. I gave him a testimonial a while ago, and I could see the testimonial that I left for him. So one other part of the social media profile is the ability to share photos with other members. And the way to share photos is through the Network Picture Gallery. And again, going back, looking at my profile, you'll see a Photos Sharing tab. And again, this is where you can share business photos or personal photos, or if you'd like to, this is a great way to share testimonials from your clients as well. And again, the way to do that is to click on Network Picture Gallery. And from here, we can either edit or delete the photos that are up there. We could also upload new photos by clicking the Upload button. All we need to do is search for a photo on our system. So if I click this magnifying glass, it will take us to a screen where we can look for photos on our system. So I'm going to upload this photo here. I could crop the image if I'd like to, take out any extra space. And I could submit this photo into my photo library. And again, one good use for this that I've seen is to be able to upload testimonials from your clients. Since clients don't necessarily have access to BNI Connect unless they're another BNI member, there's really no way for them to leave you testimonials on your profile. So one way to do that, though, is to, if you happen to get a written testimonial from a client, as long as you can save that or scan it into your computer and save it as a JPEG or a PNG file, you can upload it to your profile. So here's one copy. One example, this actually came in as an email, and I was able to save this as a JPEG file, and I uploaded it to my profile. One other example, here's one that came in as a scan, and I was able to save that as a PDF. I saved it from a PDF to a JPEG file. and I was able to upload that to my screen, to my picture gallery as well. Now, the final thing I'd like to go over today is with the social media groups in BNI Connect. One of the best ways to really reach out to the greater BNI community is through the groups functionality in BNI Connect. The way to do that is, again, through the My Network screen. You can click on the Manage button in the Groups tile. Of course, you can always go to the Network drop-down and click on Groups. Both will take you to the same place. So by default, it's going to show you all of the public groups. If I scroll down a little bit, you'll notice that currently there are 2,243 groups in BNI Connect. So I can go through and I can try to find one that I'd like. I can click through on one and read it. If I'd like to, I can go page by page by page and take a look at which groups might be of interest to me. Now, that could take quite a while. I think there's only 6 groups on each page, and there's 2,000, so we have quite a few pages to scroll through. It might be easier to use the search function. Notice the magnifying glass up here in the grayish bar. So let's say that I'd like to see all of the groups that Dr. Meisner has created. I could type the word Meisner in the Creator box and click Search. From here, I can see that Dr. Meisner has created 2 groups, the From the Founder group and Why BNI. Now, if you'd like to see what's going on in that group, this is an open group, so I can click on the group, and I could take a look at all of the conversations that are happening. For example, let's take a look at the member number 150,000 post. So I can see the announcement, and then I can see all of the follow-up conversation that's happened as well. If I'd like to post a message to this group, I could do so by clicking on Post a Message, type my message here, and then my message would appear in the timeline. I could also, from here, look at all of the participants in the group. Now, one thing that may or may not be obvious is that when you look at all the participants, you can click through to their profile. So, for example, Edward Cook is participating in this group, and Robert Gross. If I click on Robert Gross's name, I'm going to choose to open in a new tab, but this will actually take me to Robert's profile. And that way, if it's obviously somebody of similar interest that I have, and I'd like to make a more permanent connection with them, I could do so by clicking on the Add Robert to My Connections. All right, apologies there. It looks like my audio cut out for a second, and I think we are back again. Going back to the list of groups, once you join a group, what that means is you'll be able to comment on everything, but more importantly, you will be notified of any updates that are happening in that group. The place to modify the updates is by going back to My Account, and I'll show you what I mean by the notifications. So if I go back to my Account page, on the Account Settings tab, you'll notice that there's group post email notifications. And once you join a group, you will start to be notified. Now, you can choose to be notified every single time a new post is added. And my recommendation, if you'd like to actively participate in this group, this would be my selection. You can also choose once per day, so you would get one email that has all of the comments that happen on that particular day. You could choose a once per week email, or do not email me at all, so you can opt out of the notifications as well. All right, going back to our groups, you can also create up to 7 of your own groups in BNI Connect. And the way to do that is to click on the Add Group button. Now, this is a great way to share ideas with other BNI members. All you really need to do is to give your group a name. So I'm going to call this Test Test. You have to choose the access type of this group. So there's 2 options. There's View and View and Post. So what this means is that with viewing privileges, when people come and they search for the groups in BNI Connect, they could view all of the things there, even if they're not a member of the group. View and Post means that they can view as well as post, even if they're not a member of the group. The second option is what type of group it's going to be. There's 3 different options. There's an open group, meaning that it can be found. Anybody can search for this group, and anybody could join this group. There's an invite-only group. This effectively is a closed group, meaning that you as the creator of the group and or anybody that you would like to make a manager of that group will have to invite all people into that group. And halfway between there is the members can invite. So once people become a part of that group, they can also go and invite any of their contacts. Give the group a description. Now, the language setting is really to let people know what language the conversation is going to take place in. It is not a translation tool, so it will appear in whatever language you're typing in. But it's really, again, just to notify people, we're primarily going to be speaking in French or Spanish or English or Chinese or whatever language the primary participants are going to be. And then you can select which people you'd like to invite from your contacts to join that group. Once you click Submit, the next thing to do is I'm going to look at my groups, and here's my test groups. And the first thing that you need to do is to go and create a new topic of conversation. Test topic. And once people start participating in that conversation, you can start to expand your network around the world. Now, we do have a question here. It says, from Frank, he says, within a group, when I go into one of the topics, the order of comments are oldest to newest. Is there a way to change to newest first? And let me just show everybody what Frank's talking about. If I go back. So let's take a look at my webinars group. If you'd like notifications about webinars, this is a good group to join, or if you'd like to leave some comments or suggestions. So if I click on my upcoming webinar announcements, you notice there's 92 announcements in there, and it's showing by oldest first. So the first one from 9/28, and then the newest one will be on the last page. And Frank's asking, is there a way to reverse order this? And right now there is not. It is going to go from oldest to newest. It is a suggestion request, an enhancement request for a future version that we do have a way to do either oldest first or newest first. We're hoping that makes it into a future release. So hopefully that answers your question, Frank. So we are at the bottom of the hour, For those that need to leave right away, I do want to thank everybody for their time and for being on this webinar today. Hopefully you learned something new. I would also like to remind you that this recording, all of it, will be made available on BNI Connect Global on YouTube.com. So again, if you go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, that's where you'll find this recording in about a day or two, as well as all of the other recordings. You can also go to the support site by clicking on the question mark in BNI Connect. And scrolling down to the training section, you will see the webinars all posted month by month in an orderly fashion. If you have a moment, please also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. Please go up there, give us a like. We do webinar announcements and reminders and tips and tricks and all sorts of things up here on our Facebook site. So I'd like to ask, do we have any additional questions today? I'd be happy to answer those questions now. All right, if there are no additional questions, I'd like to thank everybody again for their time today. Oh, we do have a question. Hold on a second here. Robin asks, I find that I don't have the ability to give a testimonial on some of my connections. One thing about the system right now is that you can only give one testimonial per connection. So for each connection that you have, only one testimonial can be given. So to double check that, what you can do is, if you look at your testimonials and look at your testimonials given. So, for example, I've given one to Charles Westcott and Deidre Dones and Tony Wolf. If I go back to my connections and look at Charles or Tony or Deidre, so let me find Charles here. I'll notice that the Give Testimonial button, or link rather, is no longer available to me on Charlie's profile. So all I can do is send him a message or view him a profile. For those people that I haven't yet given a testimonial to, that'll give me the option to give them a testimonial. Does that answer your question, Robin? Excellent. Frank asks, when creating new groups, can you invite members who are not connected to you? At this time, no. You can't directly invite people that you are not connected to. But here's a little hint. Even if you're not connected to them yet, you can still invite them to the group by sending them a link to the group. So the way to do that would be to go to the group that you're in. And let's say I wanted to invite people to this test group. What I could do is click on this link up here, copy it, and email it to people and say, hey, please join my group. Here it is. And that would give people the ability to jump into that group and or join that group. Does that help, Frank? And just to take that one step further, you'll notice up here I have some links to various places in BNI Connect. This link here, because I post frequently in my group, this link is really that. So no matter where I am, even if I'm on my YouTube channel or something, if I want to now post in my group, I just click this webinars link, and it brings me in, and I can just do a new post almost immediately. So if I wasn't logged into BNI Connect, obviously I would have to log in before it would take me there. But that's a great way to just be able to jump right back into where you need to go. So hopefully that helps. All right, do we have any other questions? Again, thank you everybody for being here today. If you found some information on this webinar useful, a great referral for me is to please go back to your chapters. Let them know about these webinars. We do between 12 and 20 live webinars on various topics every month. You can find them on your regional event calendar. Of course, you can always find the list on support.bniconnect.com. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful weekend, and happy connecting, everyone.